So thank you for everyone attending. Welcome to Alpha Art Gallery's reception for the Latitude, Longitudes, and Meridians exhibition. We are hosting a 3 artist show for Meredith Turshen, Betty Jacobson, and Yvonne Skaggs. Right now, we will be showcasing our promotional video, and we will discuss all of the works with the artists and as well as showcasing our virtual exhibition tour. And that's when we'll be hosting some questions by then, and we'll disclose that by then. So just await any questions or concerns until further notice.
Meredith Turshen is a tri-state area artist exhibiting for a second time at the Alpha Art Gallery. Turshen touches on all aspects of creation as an artist, a teacher, and a writer. Her art studies began early at the age of 10, starting at the Art Students League in New York. She studied art at Oberlin College, and her excellence has been recognized throughout her broad career, earning the Gerald R. Dodge Foundation Award, multiple fellowships, and ongoing faculty merit awards from Rutgers University. She's lived in Hoboken and taught at Rutgers University for over 25 years. She regularly exhibits in the New York metropolitan area with Meridian Gallery and the National Association of Women Artists. She says that her career in art, along with teaching and writing about social policy, are her passions. She sees both as necessary to her existence. Turshen's pieces, featured in Longitudes, Latitudes, Meridians, are elusive landscapes, offering a glimpse of nature in a blur of oil on paper as well as paper collages. Turshen often depicts the world around her in both formats shown in her series. Color gives way to form so that the viewer may search longer for the whole picture to come to them, accomplished in a way that offers new interpretations of classic imagery. Meredith Turshen revisits storied landscapes viewed on her research trips through Africa, Asia, and Europe, remembering and reimagining the environments that stamped her life. Whether working in oil paint or paper collage, she searches for telling details that reveal place, establish ambiance, and recall the experience of being a visitor.
Betty Jacobson is a sculpture artist as well as an educator who was trained at NYU and Montclair State University. Along with being an educator and an artist, Jacobson has a deep passion for nature, which is reflected within her artworks. She views the natural world as a personal metaphor for the life cycle and often begins her works by observing nature, sometimes allowing her interpretations to flow from the subconscious, and other times they are more literal. Betty Jacobson alters stoneware in order to give clay pieces the ultimate remodel in a way that displays the theme of land and sea. Although there is a clear contrast between warm and cool colors, Jacobson combines both with the use of earth tones. All of her work is in greens, blues, and neutrals, which represent the ground as well as the ocean beneath. When looking to the sea theme, the stoneware pieces themselves were meant to be recognized within that and resemble shells. With the land theme, the pieces made for that topic resemble natural landmarks, such as caves, canyons, and bare ground. Betty Jacobson manipulates clay slabs and assembles them into land and sea forms in this new series of artworks. In her hands, bowls, which are traditional ceramic forms, become interior landscapes relating to a personal spiritual journey of the past few years. Linoleum relief blocks are carved, pressed into clay, cut out, and added to the clay forms, creating movement. The combination of earth and fire equals transformation.
Yaman Sags is a 2- and 3-dimensional artist that has been featured in a variety of venues in New York and New Jersey. Sags has harnessed her talents with the School of Art and Art History at the University of Iowa. She has then pursued careers in constructing maps and developing exhibits of niche history and art organizations. The idea of creation and destruction communicates to Skaggs regarding the realities of climate change and the hands that men play in its decline. Skaggs uses images of landscape in her skillful technique of collage with fabric and paper to demonstrate time, culture, and style. The beauty and destruction is something Yvonne Sags seeks to investigate in her work. Sags' tactile work displays such tangled and mesmerizing designs of vegetation and vast landscapes. Her use of needlework gives her portrait such intricate detail that provides physicality and realism to her landscapes. Yaman Sags creates needlework images from plein air drawings and paintings. Framing them in painted mats, the work incorporates painting drop cloth while providing energetic images of tranquility and fury, in contrast with stitching serenity of a simple tree, flowers, or even a path in the woods. She's aware that the earth is changing and reshaping and being destroyed. Yvonne's artwork illustrates the conflict between the striking beauty of life and the death of a struggling planet, fighting to survive.
How we can go through the different topics and talk about them and learn about them.
Yeah.
I really liked Yvonne's work. Honestly, in the virtual form, we don't really see as much of like the textural differences as like in person. So I definitely recommend seeing them in person and up close, especially if you want to look at the needlework. That's always fun. So yeah, I think there's a lot of mood to each of these pieces. When you look at it, there's definitely like an emotional reaction to it, or I guess like just very relaxing sometimes. But I really like them a lot, and especially with the different plays and textures. I always think it's interesting when artists add like the concept of destruction into their works, especially as artists, because art in itself is either making something or capturing something, and then it's like this polar opposite to destruction, but sometimes you do destroy stuff, and it's like an interesting play as like your role yourself, I think.
Yeah, and I think with Yvonne's work, that being able to combine several mediums onto one composition really plays with the depth and perception of how we're able to perceive their artwork. Especially, I think when we go through the other artworks, we're able to at least admire different mediums across a certain spectrum. And at least with this one, we're able to combine other elements into one. Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to say something about this painting right here.
Yeah, of course.
I just wanted to say, like, first of all, I've seen this one in the gallery, obviously, and I really liked it a lot because of the background that's surrounding it and how there's the blue that matches with like the single little painting inside, And then there's like the intrusion of red, which adds a whole different, like, I don't want to say vibe, but atmosphere to it. And I just think that that was very interesting. I just want to say that one thing.
No, thank you.
At this point, if you want to make a comment at any time, you can.
Yeah, and anyone from the audience, please feel free to, make any comments about any of the works we see.
Actually, I'm curious about something for all three ladies. I was wondering if you could tell us more about how all of your works interact with each other within the gallery space. I think it's interesting that there's like one of everything kind of, and there's like mixed media, but ceramics and painting, and I want to know more, but all three of them have this like textural kind of thing going on. I would like to know if you guys could comment on the way your works complement each other.
I think what's so interesting is that, this is Meredith speaking, what's so interesting is that we set ourselves a theme and then have no idea how it's going to be interpreted by each artist. But we've worked together for so long and have known each other for so many years, exhibited together so often, that we have confidence that there is going to come together a unity in an exhibition with a theme. And for the first exhibition, we called it Life Distilled. We wrapped around the theme of still life. And honestly, it was as varied as this one, with each of us going off in a slightly different direction, both in terms of media and in terms of artistic interpretation. I think that what really inspires us to start with is the drawing group that we formed in Plainfield, New Jersey at Ducre Art School many years ago, where each of us was working from the model. And already Betty was working in clay and three-dimensional figures. I was already doing reverse drawing, which is a technique that Paul Klee used to impose, sort of like using carbon paper and drawing in reverse. And Yvonne was doing something entirely different. And it's just fascinating to me how we started from that origin and yet have grown together and separately as artists and as friends.
It's really cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, it's beautiful to hear because I think, again, once you attend like the physical, space, you're able to like, at least get some context at the relationship between the artworks. And even though you may not know, per se out of context that there's a relationship between each artist that is being exhibited, there's some type of intimacy that's there, and I think that, especially I think that we're able to showcase this remotely in the virtual space, there's still that relationship there. And I think it's, great that we get to, show it to other people as well.
Yeah, it's like a snapshot in your relationships with each other. I think that's cool.
This is Yvonne. And I would also add that we do learn from each other and watch, and I find myself, especially as Meredith was developing her collages, that whole notion of cutting an image and repiecing it came to, I came to understand it in a way that I hadn't before. And so I think we all influence the textures of Betty's work, and we influence each other in subtle background ways that might not be obvious to the world.
I think what I noticed is that some of the color palettes overlap. So there's a lot
Yes.
of like warm colors playing off each other. And I see that it's like visually interpreted as a series, especially when you see it in the physical space, the transition from your sculptures into Betty's paintings, and then as well the like the mixed medias that Yvonne creates. So I just like being able to see those relationships, even if they were done like unconsciously.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes, very similar palette and sensitivity to colors and shapes even. So.
No, great, it's great.
I guess I'll just add a little to Betty. And yeah, so just, wow, what a wonderful reminder about our drawing group, that was our origins. And, so that figure was the common denominator, but, to see the results, they were also different. And how wonderful it is to keep our connection and explore media. A lot of building is going on, and I see that with the collages, with Meredith building up on her prints from other work, as well as Yvonne deconstructing old paintings and putting them back together, building with her needlework. We used to actually belong to a weaving group. There's so many threads that connect all our work that seem to pop up in various ways. And we've even taken ceramic classes together, workshops, Yvonne and I, and just interesting to see the results and what happens. So clay for me has always been there, but I like to explore a lot of things. And so it's just great that we could even take this theme of landscape and then work with such a range and still come together as a whole.
Yes.
And I also would like to add that all of the work looks beautiful. Your video is quite nice.
Thank you. All of us worked very hard, and we're happy that you like it as well. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for all you're doing.
I really like the Legura, and I think it's the Tempest, something along that line, the title, because they have similar textures, but the colors are quite different. So I feel like it evokes different familiar shapes to the eyes. And like you see the connection, but it's a very different feeling. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, the subtleness between each one, there's a difference, but at the same time, everything, is able to have some type of relationship with one another.
Yeah, it definitely has a landscape feeling. That's like our brains, our human brains try to find patterns naturally in different shapes.
Definitely.
I usually take my titles from poems that I've been reading, but for this show, there are some which were so concretely in memory of places I have visited. So the Jura is a range of mountains just outside of Geneva, Switzerland, and I worked for the World Health Organization for a number of years. And the Jura was where we went to ski every weekend in winter and where we hiked every summer. And that was a winter scene of the Jura. This is the White Mountains in New Hampshire, where one of my college friends was living. And I would drive from the Vermont Studio Center through the Green Mountains, across through a notch into the White Mountains. And again, this is something that I did every year in the 10 years that I worked at the Vermont Studio Center for a month every summer, and then would go and see these friends in New Hampshire on a farm that they inherited. And it was just, you know, a magical time in all different kinds of weather. The poetry is very important to my work, and I can't say that I'm working from poems. I'm working the opposite direction. I'm doing the work and then reading poems and seeing the poetry in the work and then finding a title that fits.
You know, it's great to make those, I think, those connections and even combine those like concepts. So it's like, it's not even like entirely a collage of like actual like physical mediums. There's an intellectual and like, you know, thought component to, you know, the whole series. So I think it's interesting to combine like the physical, you know, place while also combining it with some type of even spiritualness with it by using these, you know, sampling from like written words. It gives it like a different context.
I like this one a lot. It's just so pretty to me.
A question for Meredith. How did you color is such a big part of your work? So how do you decide for which of your works when to use such vibrant colors? Like the last piece we were on has such bright and vibrant colors compared to the Jura that we were talking about earlier.
I had a funny experience one summer at Vermont Studio Center. There had been some really bad news, foreign international news, that had affected me because I had friends involved. And I was working in my usual colors and everything turned into black and white, shades of gray.
Mhm.
Color absolutely disappeared from the canvas. So I guess I would say that my natural inclination is to work in high color, but sometimes mood just sends me in another direction.
Mhm.
And the colors just fade away.
Makes sense. Thank you.
I actually really like this one. I'm wondering if it has any connections to like Mesoamerican, like Mexican type art, because it's very reminiscent of that for me. Yeah.
I guess I would just say I could see that. Thank you for your comment, Danielle. Many years ago, I did visit the Grand Canyon and Arizona, and very interested in the Anasazi Indians. And, you know, I think that ladder is symbolic of a number of things, traveling, reaching for something else. And yeah, so, and obviously with the earth, you know, with clay, you know, the media. But thank you. Thank you for your observation.
I really like how much all of these resemble waves.
I also see them as boat shapes. I'm very interested in boats, and so they could be both. I like that. Thanks.
I thought it was really interesting to use ceramic and stoneware to make seashells. I think it's a really interesting play on how like the minerals and like the stone, like because like the ocean, there's like hard material of the seashell that's like natural, and then there's the stone material that happens that's like not organic at all. But then the ocean does have this like long-term way of making stone, which is through sedimentary processes. But then this is like through fire. And I think it's so interesting that there's like this weird interaction with like different parts of nature through these works.
I think clay just lends itself to that. You know, it's so organic and just directly from the earth, and it is so. It's one of those materials that tells us about other cultures, the things that last, and so primal, so primal. I just want to say on this one, it was when we were installing the show, there was a beautiful piece by Meredith, and I'm like, oh, we have the same title. So, and it has a similar color aspect to it. So radiance.
I think it goes back to that relationship, like because you guys know each other, I think being able to find similar titles within your works, especially if you're showcasing them, I think it proves how well you guys know each other. And I think again it amplifies that visual connection that there's a big relationship between everyone within the exhibition. Okay.
Thank you so much to everyone who came. Once again, I'd like to reiterate that a lot of these works, they're definitely worth seeing in person. So definitely come by. I think this show will be lasting until the middle of October, I believe. So you have plenty of time to just come by during open hours to visit and just take your time and look at the works.
Yes, thank you everyone for coming. We appreciate your patience, and we're glad to have everyone attending and
Can
being
we have
able
a
to-
question?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Alpha Gallery, and congratulations, Meredith, Betty, and Yvonne, for the exhibit. My name is Fereydun Nikpur. I'm a member of Rutgers community, and I have a question for Meredith. I know her for years and years. I know that you have a strong interest in women's rights, social justice, and equity in general. You have done works, you have taught courses. I took course with you. In fact, I was your student. And you have publications, all of these things. Any of that dedication to those subjects, which are very important, particularly in these years and these days, any of your work reflects that interest and that dedication. Most of what I saw was reflection of nature in your work in very abstract form. Anything that you could show us or you could talk to us about it, any of your work that reflects that side of your life, which I really appreciate and congratulate you on that side of your work.
Thank you, Fereydun, and hello. It's so nice to see your face. It's been too long since we last saw each other.
I know.
I think that especially the last 10 years or more, when I've been writing about women in war and the violence that women experience in wartime, mainly in Africa, but also elsewhere, I just have to escape. I just have to go someplace to remember humanity, to remember beauty, to remember that the world is worth living in and preserving, because one writes about so much destruction and so much harm to the human spirit. It seems to me that perhaps it was too compartmentalized, that I did, on the one hand, all the writing, and on the other hand, the painting, which I never stopped doing from the time I was a child. But I never wanted to paint those scenes that I was writing about. I never wanted to, it was hard enough to visualize, to talk with the women who had been experiencing all of those problems. And I didn't want to put that into my artwork. I wanted that artwork to be a haven, a refuge, a safe space to go. And where I hoped that other people also would find some relief from the hardships that they experienced.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Meredith, for sharing that. Again, we're still open to comments and questions about any of the work that you've seen, about any visits to the gallery to see the work. Please feel free. Well, I think one thing that I noticed during at least the installation was that even being, not having the same type of uh, intimacy with the artwork as, Meredith and Betty and Yvonne, being able to install that work, it allowed me to at least get some type of idea about how, and as even from an outside view, I have the ability to get some type of knowledge into the process, because even though making, these raw materials, whether it's paint, or clay, um, being able to showcase it and even curate some of the space, I have a different understanding about how we're able to produce these works and even showcase it, whether it's virtually or in a physical space. So I think that being able to, view this, it allows us to get an idea about how we're able to perceive the world, and especially within the exhibition, we have like three different perceptions, but at the same time they're also very similar, because there's like a connection between the artists and also like the landscapes and like cultures they're referencing.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting just because your show is happening kind of later in the year in 2021. And we got to see a lot of different artists present their works in the past few exhibitions from this year. And I think there's this collective return to nature as a motif. Like a lot of people have been having this pull towards it. I think that's such an interesting overall look at everything, and just kind of shows how we naturally heal ourselves, especially during like kind of crazy times like this.
Definitely. Any more questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. So I think, Danielle, I think we should be concluding it then.
I think so. If there's nothing, no one else want to pitch in a comment or something.
And I just thank you all, especially your comments.
I'd like to say something.
Yes, please.
So this is just relative to all three artists. This is my first time in like experience being in an art gallery at all. So being able to walk around and see all these like beautiful works of art that are all like different, but at the same time related to one another, it's just been like absolutely insane, because I'm more of a photographer, videographer, like cinematographer person. So to be in this whole new world is very interesting, and to have three very talented women introduce me to that has been a pleasure. And I just want to thank all of you for putting your works in the art gallery for people like me who have never experienced anything like this before. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ivy.
So
Ivy, I hope to see some of your photographs in a gallery soon.
I hope so.
Yes, and thank you, Betty, Yvonne, and Meredith, for choosing Alpha Art Gallery with us. We really appreciate your patience and consideration with us. We are glad we're able to at least showcase your work. I know with the pandemic, you weren't able to do it the same way. So it's nice that, over like a year's time, we can at least retroactively see the change from the narrative what once was, our original norm to the new norm of what we're producing now. So it's like that transition into this, virtual space, being able to produce this work. It's like it's never changed. Just the concept and just our ability to like perceive the world may have changed, but there's still like a connection as well. So it's beautiful to see that. Okay. So if there are not any more questions or comments, thank you again, everyone, for attending.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
And
Thanks
you.
for all your work.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Charles and Daniel.
Yes.
My team is fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you, Galina.
Thank
And thank you, Danielle.
Bye-bye.
You
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Alina.
Everyone, thank you.